just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down tonight. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we're gonna light it up tonight. We're gonna light it up, babe. Tonight we're gonna light it up just like the sunrise. We're gonna light it up.
Welcome to the HVAC Guide for Homeowners live show where we go, lost my place already. Gotta love live shows. Welcome to the HVAC Guide for Homeowners YouTube channel live show where we talk about all things HVAC that no one else is talking about. Answering your questions live. Sometimes we're joined by other pros in the chat who might know answers to questions that I don't. And finally, we have breakout segments where we go over funny clips, industry news, and goofy inventions. And not only that, tonight we have a special guest. This is the one, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you have been asking for this guy. This is the one, and this is the show you've all been waiting for. When I started making YouTube videos and this live show, my biggest goal was to give folks access to see and be part of things that they can get nowhere else. And tonight is another great example of that. But before we bring on Tad, let's take a moment to pay the bills and thank the sponsor of this show. I wanted to take a quick break from the video and thank the sponsor of this video, Hvac. Many homeowners are frustrated with HVAC systems leaking refrigerant and the cost to repair those leaks. But HVAC technicians are equally frustrated when they can't seem to find those leaks. Hvac has amazing leak detectors for technicians searching for those leaks. They can detect any type of compressed gas, including refrigerants, nitrogen, air, etc. They detect both vacuum and pressure leaks and are effective in gas-saturated areas under windy conditions. Hvac never needs calibration, different tips for different gases, and best of all, it's made right here in the USA. I'll put a link to Hvac in the description of this video. Make sure you use the promo code HVAC Guide for a discount. And now, back to the video. Tonight's guest is an expert in the HVAC field, training many others on how to perform tasks in the trade the correct way. He's the host of the Taddy Digest YouTube channel, and he's built an amazing following of homeowners and pros alike. He's the creator of many programs, including, Tad, I hope it's okay that I share this, many programs, including a new experience where pros can come to Nashville, Tennessee, and learn from him the entire week, picking his brain and every step of the way. In his words, he uses, quote, facts rather than flair to present information, unquote, to his 80,000 plus subscribers. His content ranges from music, HVAC work, tips and tricks to motivational speaking and healthy living. He enjoys learning new things and showing others how they can better their lives. Let's welcome Tad Fuller. Let's go. Look at that reception. They were lined up outside tonight, ready for you, my friend.
I'm telling you, man.
How are you doing?
They were actually standing on me. I had my head in between one of their legs, and I was screaming for my life. Ah!
You're that guy. You're that guy.
Man, I love it, man. I love the introduction. I love just so professional, man. This is exciting.
You're
I've
the
watched
guy
your
that has the
videos.
girl on your shoulders at the concert, and I'm the chubby guy behind you going, I paid good money for those seats. I can't see the show.
And then I throw her off, and you get on my shoulders, and I'm like, "Go, let's go! I'm gonna lift you up, brother." So
I love it. I love it.
I'm excited to be here. I've watched your videos. You're helping people. You've got some purpose in your content. That's really cool. I love that. It's awesome. So what got you started, man? Like, what I got to know. Like, you
Whoa,
got you
whoa,
got
whoa, whoa.
hundreds of videos.
I'm interviewing you tonight, man. What are you
Oh,
doing? Come on.
I thought this was my show.
A lot of the audience, they've heard my story too many times, but I'll give you the
Okay.
short version. I originally went to school to be an electrician, and following careers, I ended up at a plumbing company for a while, and then finally ended up at a company that did all three.
Got it.
And that's, I got my taste of heating and air and fell in love with it. How about you?
Really born into it. My dad, when everybody was having fun during the summer, I started when I was 14. My dad would wake up, bring me to the shop. I would go with the crew, and I was riding in this 1980s van that didn't have air conditioning. We called it Old Betsy, and there's two seats in the front, and then tools all in the back and shelves. And I'm sitting in a little fold-up chair, and I'm back there just hoping we don't hit a bump, But I worked from 14 to when I graduated high school, and went straight into just a trade school. But I put in duct work from the time I was 14 till I started doing tech work, and so it was just a great experience. I got to learn what hard work was, got to prove myself, and I loved every minute of it. And I started from the bottom, making $5 an hour for many years.
That's
And
really
then,
cool. So your dad did this, I guess?
yeah, my dad started in 1985. Actually, didn't graduate high school. He dropped out, and he started an appliance business, and started really, really from the bottom. He tells me the story all the time about how he had like 200 or 300 bucks, and he drove this Green Galaxy 500 or something. I can't remember. And just worked really hard. Worked a lot harder than I probably ever worked, and because of the opportunity that he chose and focused on, I get this opportunity. So, and I'm kind of taking it to the next level. So, it's wonderful what we can do for our family and for our children. So it's awesome, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So you knew at at a very young age that this was what you were going to
Holy.
do?
No, actually, 2 weeks before I graduated high school, I remember asking the question. Somebody asked me, "What are you going to do when you graduate?" And I was like, "I don't know." And they were like, "Well, what have you been doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I've been doing heating and cooling. I've been putting in duct work. I've been doing sheet metal work." And 2 weeks later, I just went from one thing to the next. I don't really think about what I do. I just kind of do. I've always been that way, like not knowing what I'm doing and making a lot of mistakes. So I just joined trade school and had a wonderful teacher, man. And then, I part-time. I was already working, so I didn't want to quit working. So he let me co-op like almost the whole way through. And we had one technician at the time, and the company was much smaller. And, from there I got out, and I worked. I worked as the only technician for a while, doing service and cleans and service work. And I do service work to this day, every day. I can tell you what I did today. But I rode 10 years in a service van, and I put in a lot of work, man. And it was awesome. And it still is
That's
awesome.
really cool. Because if you
Yeah.
started so young, by the time you were, most people, let's just say, well, if they graduate college, what age are they? Like 22, right? So at the age of 22, you were pretty much, I mean, I don't, every state varies, but you were probably
Mhm.
pretty much qualified to own your own business at that point, your own
Yeah.
heat and air business.
Yeah.
And
No,
then, most of those folks are getting out of school with a ton of debt. They've got to start at
yeah.
and you're already, kind of at the top of your game at that point. You're ready to hire others and teach them what you know. That's really
Yeah.
cool. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
man. it was a gift, man. I'm so excited about it, and you know, I'm just it's awesome, man. Everybody should own their own business. Everybody should have the opportunity. That way, they know what it takes, and that way they get to feel the sense of freedom. You know, because that's what we all love. We all love freedom, and owning your own business is a portion of freedom. That's what that is.
Ryan has been he's been coming after me for months, telling me that you needed to be a guest on our
Oh,
show. So
oh,
what's the
Ryan, thank
story
you,
here?
brother. True customer. I know Mrs. Glenn just was interviews now. It's funny to be a real raw, unfiltered true customer. Oh, Miss Glenna. Oh, Miss Glenna Hampton. Yeah. So Glenna bought a York unit, and it was a terrible experience. We installed like a compressor, like four outdoor fan motors, and indoor coils. York had a problem like I don't know, probably 7, 8 years ago, and they had a bunch of outdoor TXVs on all their heat pumps that failed, and then they had hundreds, no, I'm sorry, thousands of indoor coil failures. And some of those units, like Ms. Glenna's, we replaced the indoor coil 2 or 3 times, and it was terrible because they kept sending us coils that were already leaking. And I've still stuck with York because of my distributor. That's the only reason I've stuck with York, because of my distributor. And now they've redesigned their equipment, but what was I going with this? But anyways, Miss Glenna just trusts us, and she knows that, like, if she called right now, I'd leave this interview after we were finished and I'd go to her house. Um, and she was funny because I wanted to put her on video because she's funny, man. And, you got those customers that just, your relationship's really good.
Yeah.
And she was just hilarious on video because she's disappointed, but at the same time, she says in the interview, she's like, I trust Tad. Like, I'm gonna go with whatever he says, but Tad, I'm gonna tell you, this thing, it ain't right. Like, and it's funny, but and I had to put on, like, I even did a video about taking an ECM motor because they wanted $1,000 for the motor, like 11 years, like 11-year-old unit. So it was 10-year parts warranty, but it was right out. So I ended up doing a video on just replacing it with a relay and a regular outdoor fan motor, because I'm just trying to limp her along and give her some more time with that unit. That way, the cost that she paid for it and the price that she paid, she just gets more value out of it. So, but it was just a cool, man. It was a cool experience. But yeah, it was terrible because she had like over 10 claims. So it was just
Yeah,
bad,
I think
man.
I think York's biggest flop. I'm not a huge fan of York myself, but I really think they really went all in on that micro channel years ago, right? I mean, I feel like they went in
Yeah.
harder than anybody. They were really pushing
Hmm.
it, and they may have even been first to the table. I don't remember, but they were definitely
Yeah.
last to leave. I felt like, and I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like not long ago you could still get some stuff with some micro channel, right? Or even today, maybe. I don't know. Is that the case?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure right now, I think that they're still microchannel, which,
Really?
some brands and manufacturers have a higher density of the coil strength on microchannel, and it's less, it's not as easy to damage it. And, microchannel, what's so bad about it is if it gets dirty, then your pressures are crazy. It's easier to overcharge. If there's not education, you use the wrong coil cleaner, it eats a hole in it. Um, I've had countless experiences where a homeowner is weed eating around the outdoor unit and they hit it, they barely touch it, boom, it's damaged. Then somebody's doing a roof repair and a nail falls off and falls inside the coil, it goes through it, boom, it's damaged. So there's just, when you got to have durability in the field, and that's what makes a unit last longer. How durable is everything. And micro channel, it's just so easily damaged. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I have heard good things about their new side discharge unit though. Have you installed any of those?
Yorks,
Yeah.
you talking about mini splits?
No, the what is it called? The HM7 something or another?
Oh, you're talking about their it's a modulating variable capacity outdoor unit, and it is the HMH7. It's a heat pump, looks like a mini split side discharge. I'm actually putting one in a barn dominium. We do a lot of new construction, a lot of barn dominiums.
A barn
And
dominium?
yeah,
What
barn
is
dominium style houses.
you are making up stuff now. What is a barn
Nah,
dominium?
man. Barn dominium style houses is people will take and buy these packages from different companies, and they come out, and what they'll do is they'll pour a slab, and then they'll do stick framing, and then after the stick framing, then they'll do metal siding, metal roof, and that's what a barn dominium is.
Interesting.
And everybody here does these barn dominium style houses, barndo houses, and it's just cheaper than doing,
Got it.
I guess, crawl space and all that, and basement. But yeah, we do a lot of those, and I'm putting in a dual fuel right now because when I go to a customer's house and they don't know what they need or what they want, then I'll make a recommendation. And if they say they're going with propane, I always recommend a dual fuel. And then, it's only 1,000, maybe $2,000 higher. But I always recommend a dual fuel. Yeah, that's barn dominium right there, left top hand, or yeah, the middle, or yeah, any of those. We do a lot of those. I've got about 10 contractors, and I do a barn dominium every week or every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah,
Some of these are pretty nice. I would trade up
yeah,
from my house to one of these things. These are nice.
yeah. And I've got videos. I've got one titled "Barn Dominium HVAC Layout," and I go from the beginning of the job to the end of the job, and I show the whole entire process.
Ryan's on here cussing right now. He just
What
said a
the?
bad word. That first word, we don't say that word on my channel.
Yeah, yeah. Ryan, thank you for the recommendation, brother. I appreciate that. You're probably the reason I'm on here right now. Do you like the York inverter side we're just talking about, or the new Samsung Hlex? Oh man, so Ryan, I like the Hlex. It's really nice, and I like the fact that when you look at the HMH7, when you order one, you have something called an installation kit, and this installation kit is this little board with, I'm pretty sure, one big or two relay. No, it's a board with, I think, two relays on it. And on the wiring on that, you have to basically cut every wire, and you either wire nut it or you do the Wago or Wago, whatever. And then when you look at the Hlex has something called an air handler control unit, an ACU. And it is a really nice board that you take the cover off, and you have the terminal block or the terminal strip for all your thermostat wires. And then you have your F1 and F2 where your communication comes in for the outdoor unit. As far as the wiring and the setup, I love the Samsung Hlex. I think it's really nice. As far as the operation, excellent. When you look at the HMH7, which I sell a lot of those too, the setup for the Samsung is my preferred. But what do I sell more of? I sell more of the HMH7.
So the Samsung Hlex is a non-communicating system to the control, but communicating between the equipment.
All right. So yeah. Well, the Samsung outdoor unit is communicating DC. All right, and it's 0.1 to, I think, 0.2 to 0.7 volts DC, and it communicates through a 16 AUG 2 wire from the outdoor unit to the air handler control unit, which is this little bitty white box. Then from that box, you have all your thermostat wires go in, and then all your thermostat wires go out to your indoor air handler, to your gas furnace, and you have something also called a relay, which is for your PSC motors if you're hooking up a standard furnace with a PSC motor. So it's really nice.
When Bosch first came out, I think they were the first. I could be wrong. They were the first I knew of the non-communicating inverter stuff. At least that, first one that I could get in my market. And I liked them. I thought they were fine. I put one in my house originally because when they first came out, the price point was unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
Since then, and I'm not going to get into politics, but all the different reasons that it got higher in price.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I remember saying years ago, and even now, I don't understand why. I know Mitsubishi kind of has a it's similar to what I'm describing, but I don't understand why we can't have a communicating inverter system like the Daikin Fit, for example, but have a
Mhm.
controller that is similar to the remote, like a mini split, because that's all a mini split is. A mini split is a non-communicating remote control, right?
Mhm.
That tells the head, hey, I want this
Mhm.
temperature. But then the system itself essentially is a communicating inverter system.
That's
And
right.
I feel like whoever masters that in a simplistic way without all this craziness is going to win, at least in the short term, because a lot of folks are looking at SEER and SEER 2 pretty hard, and they're looking at inverters more than ever. And I
Mhm.
don't know how you feel about it, but I feel that the non-communicating stuff, it's great, but it's still inferior to the not to the communicating stuff in a lot of ways. So,
Mhm.
I just don't I feel like there's something there to be had, It's something I've been talking about for years, and maybe it's out and I'm just not aware of it to the degree that I'm describing, but it's, you know, you've gotten quiet on me. So
I'm listening. I am taking it in, brother.
well, I feel like there might be something out there. Maybe I'm just not
Well,
aware that
there is
it's
one company that
okay.
I'm not going to even mention, man. I'm not even going to
Okay.
mention because I don't know for sure, but I know that they are like very, they've already created something, and it's very, I'll just say it's very compatible with what you're saying. And they're releasing their new heat pumps, but I really don't even want to mention because I'm not familiar and I haven't installed it, and I
Got it.
don't even, maybe off the call we can talk about it or I can send some information, but really not worth talking about. As far as inverters, they're great, man, but our voltage isn't, and we can talk about, with every inverter, there's something homeowners need to do, or there's something technicians and companies need to do, but they're not doing it. And because of that, if the voltage goes over 260 for anything that has an inverter board, the inverter board pops and it goes bad. So,
Yeah.
inverters are great, but as far as, there's something that needs to go with every inverter, and that is a line voltage monitor and a buck boost transformer. Because when I put in a mini split and the voltage is over 250 volts because it's 125 coming in split, the voltage is already so high. And then, seasons change and transformer and voltage goes up. And, that's our main problem with failures on, inverter equipment. It's the voltage. And nobody installs a surge protector, a line voltage monitor, and a buck boost transformer so you can lower the voltage. This equipment or some equipment isn't created in countries where they use 208. And then you get over here and we use 230. But what's coming in is 125 split and it's 250. So it's so high. So I mean, I
Yeah.
love inverters. I love high efficiency equipment. Is it really, really more efficient? It depends on the insulation of your home. It depends on how tight it is. Because most people think that you're just going to save a ton of money, but if you're blowing it out the wall there because you got infiltration, thermal loss, then is it really that efficient?
Yeah.
That's a
Well, and
whole
it kind
nother
of
ball
depends on
game.
what your other options are too. So, do you have any customers that are mobile home? They live in a mobile home?
Dude, at 30, 45%. I don't, a lot. Yeah.
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 I had a lady years ago, and some other company had come in and put in a regular air handler, and we spent a long time, or no, they had quoted her a regular air handler. That's what it was. And I explained to her the high static and all the reasons why maybe that's not a good idea. And so I got her to stay electric furnace, but we
Mhm.
put in a Bosch non-communicating inverter with it. And we went heat pump. She had straight AC before. Here in Virginia, I don't know
Mhm.
how it gets over your way, but if you're running on straight heat strips in the winter, this poor lady was paying over $600 a month some months for a
Yeah,
little
man.
tiny mobile home.
Yep. Yep.
And so we put in a heat pump, and it's such a fun story that I wish I would have got it on tape, because when I met her, she had the walls up. Like, her name was Ms. Lane, and she had the walls up, and she had the scowl going, and she had the I know you're just trying to sell me something. And I saw her again 6 months later or like a year later, and she hugged me
It's
because
awesome.
her electric bills were so much lower because all
That's
we did was
awesome.
go heat pump and we went inverter. And so I
Hmm.
think you're right, but I think it also kind of depends on what your other options are too. You know, if your other
Yep.
option is straight AC with a 15 kW electric furnace,
Yeah. Great
I'm
point.
about to
Yeah.
do you a
Great
favor.
point. Yeah, you've got a good point with that because yeah, if you've got electric heat, and it gets cold, you can be pulling 3 times the power, with that heat kit than you would with what you're talking about is, something that'll actually output good heat. So, you went from, well, yeah, so yeah, you're still heating the home, but you're heating it better. And yeah, I mean, as long as you don't have high head pressure, I would be curious what that pressure was and what the airflow was like. You had a high static air handler though, right?
It was it's a high static electric furnace downflow.
Mm-hmm.
We put I don't remember what brand, but just one of those, uh, you know, um, coil manufacturer brands, right? They don't make
Yeah,
outdoor units; they just make coils. And we
yeah,
put one of those, and we put a TXV on it, and then we, like say, we matched it with that Bosch, and
got it. That's
it
cool.
it was we've done it a few times, and I don't know if you know enough about me to know that I drink the Daikin Kool-Aid, but Daikin doesn't make anything, any inverters that are non-communicating. So her options were limited, having
Hmm.
that electric furnace.
Yeah,
So, anyway, it was just crazy that you were talking about customers earlier and how much they trust you. And, it's sometimes fun to see that switch, when they go from not trusting you
yeah.
to get, this lady hugged me,
That's awesome,
So,
man. Yeah,
um,
in the past, I can think that, there's been times where I've lowered the equipment size. They already wanted to have a bigger unit because they think bigger is better. That's the biggest misconception I have in the field. Bigger is better. Bigger is not always better. And I've had to make the agreement that I'm going to put this unit in. We're going to take out this three, put in this two. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to take it back out. We're going to put in, what you think is right. So I've had to do that. So it's kind of the same experience there.
yeah. Philip asked, "What's the typical temperature output for registers on a heat pump?" I mean, typically, if it's Tad, you feel free to jump in. For me, it's an AC mode. We're looking for that 20-degree split, and I'd say in heating, depending on what the outside temperature is. I mean, if it gets super super cold, there ain't but so much a heat pump can do, especially some heat pumps. And
Hmm.
but I'm usually happy with a 30-degree heat rise, right? I
Hmm.
mean, and without the heat
Yeah.
strips turning on, a 30-degree heat rise, I'm going to be super happy with typically.
Yep.
Um,
100%. Yep. But yeah, like you said, it all depends on the output, of I mean, it depends on the ambient temperature outside, inside. Depends on the type of unit, depends on the ductwork. Is it leaking? Some ducts, 20 to 30% leakage if you're in an unconditioned space. So I mean, I've had, that's why it's so critical for technicians to check the temperature at the indoor coil right after it and then at the outlet, the supply vent. That way you can see the difference.
yeah. Yep. What is something most folks, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's
Do it,
something
man.
that a lot of folks don't know about you that maybe you haven't shared on your YouTube channel?
Hmm, that's good. Um, I don't really know. I'm so transparent and I don't really hide anything, man. You know, I don't know. I haven't really videoed my whole entire day, so but you would just see me really just working and eating, and I try to go to my homestead and see the animals and enjoy my children and my wife, and uh, I really there's nothing really, man. I don't think so. I mean, I'm not stripping at night, so I
You're
mean,
not. You're not.
I mean, I've thought about it, just let's go. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, I don't know if I can give you anything on that, man. I mean,
I was hoping you would. I was hoping you'd come out with the, the Santa in the department store, that the beard, maybe pull that
Yeah.
down.
It's the beard, man. The beard. It's the beard. Now there's nothing
Uh,
there, Joshua. You can't put me on the spot with that because there's nothing, man. I mean, I love to work, I love to eat, and I love to have fun. Um, I love to go on vacation sometimes. What else? I love to learn. I love new things, man. I'm trying to do as much as I possibly can because, there's no work in the grave where I'm going. And I don't mean that to be sad or like depressed. I mean that is like whatever you find to do it with all your might while you're here. You know what I'm saying? Like do everything you possibly can, you know? So there's nothing. Everybody knows me. They know, I would say they know me. I mean, I've got videos on motivation. I've got videos on health. I've got videos. I've really put it all out there. Like I'm not hiding anything. I'm not putting on a front. I got nothing to hide, nothing to be prideful about. I'm lucky to even be here, like on this. I'm lucky to even be able to work every day. I'm happy about it. So that's
yeah,
it.
that's really true. Yeah, it sometimes
Mhm.
puts in perspective when you see what some folks are going through. You know, how
Mhm.
lucky we are, just to do some of the things that we do. I had a guy this
Yeah.
morning in one of my classes, complaining about certain things. And I, I'm just like, man, these are first world problems right here, the stuff he's
Yeah.
complaining about.
Yeah, and as a
So,
service technician, what's such a blessing is being able to see all these people and their conditions and learning from people. I love meeting new people, having a conversation. I'm not one of those techs that goes out and doesn't say a word, man. When I get out of the truck, I'm like, "Hey!" I'm like, "What you got going on today? What are you doing?"
yeah.
And my son goes to work with me every day almost. He's
Does
the
he
guy
really?
that holds the camera. Yeah, and he's 11, and he crochets while I drive. He rides in the back. He crochets, and he makes
Does he
dish
really? Or are you
rags.
just messing? That's really
No, no,
cool.
I'm not messing, man. It's something I don't show on video, so I guess I can say that. But yeah, he crochets, and then at every stop, he's always asking the homeowner, "Would you like to buy a dish rag? Would you like to buy a cup holder? Would you like to buy a pot holder?" And like, dude, he seriously like sells every single time, man. And sometimes I tell him, I'm like, man, not this one, like they're busy doing this. And every time he asks them, they're like, yeah, let me see. And he's like, let me show you my designs. And he shows them the designs. He sells. And then we go to lunch. He buys his own lunch. Sometimes he buys my lunch. So it's really cool, man. And like he's the guy that unloads my tools or my torches or my vacuum pump, my nitrogen. And like just like every day, he's like, wake me up, wake me up. Like I want to go to work. I'm like, all right.
That is so cool, man.
So yeah, and everybody at the office and at the shop loves seeing him. They're like, hey, if he doesn't come in, they're like, what's up, part timer? Because it's 11-year-old. They're like, where were you at yesterday? Were you working? Were you half day in or something? So it's cool, man.
My old boss used to go, if I took a day off, even if it was a scheduled day, like he knew I would be off.
Yeah,
When I'd get back, he'd always go, "Hey man, you still work here?"
yeah,
Every
man.
time.
That's what it's about, man. If people don't like you, they don't give you none of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, if you're not having fun at work, bro, you're not loving life, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Ryan's got a question here.
Yeah.
I'm starting a new project to add more returns, one in each bedroom. The tech wants to add in another media filter box to the side of my furnace to support the new returns and help with static pressure. Does that make
Hmm.
sense for design? There will be a return on each side of the furnace, two 20 by 25 by 5
Hmm.
media cabinets, and I have an upflow for the supply.
Yeah. Oh, so you want me to answer to you?
Yeah, you go ahead.
All right. So Ryan, I would have to ask you, is it a 4 or 5 ton? Because if it's a 4 or 5 ton, you're supposed to take your return out of two sides. You're supposed to take your return out of either the bottom and one side, or maybe one of each side. And you can never have enough return. You can never have enough return. And if you don't have enough return, you'll never have enough supply. As far as your media filters, If you're adding a return and you're adding the media filter, great. If you're adding another media filter and you're not adding another return, there's probably going to be an issue because you're probably going to increase the static pressure. So I would say everything would probably work out great because you're adding the return. That's great. You're going to have more comfort in the home. Circulating more air is good. How you do it, that's probably going to be the point where I'd want more details. But dude, I love it.
Yeah, the thing that lost me was maybe it was just the wording, but it says, he's adding these returns, always a good thing, right? And then it says he wants to add another media filter box to the side of my furnace to support the new returns and help with static pressure.
Help with static pressure.
Yeah, it's just losing me. Maybe it's just the way it's worded.
Yeah.
I was like, why would adding a filter box, why would you even care to do that for static pressure?
Yeah,
And
it's not gonna. That's good. That's gonna increase static pressure. That's not gonna decrease it because that's
right,
gonna increase
exactly.
pressure drop.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So maybe it's
on
just
the
the way it's
Magnehelic,
worded, but
the needle's gonna
yeah.
go up. Woo! Woo! Woo!
I think that I did a video recently where we talked about sizing of ductwork and situations where maybe you don't want to oversize a duct to one room or another, the supply duct. But I think it's probably safe to say that in most cases, especially residential, you can't really oversize the returns. So the more returns you add to that house, the better. You might be adding them in places you shouldn't, if it's too close to a supply, maybe things like that. But I did a whole video where we talked about places you don't want a return, like the bathroom, for example, for obvious reasons. But yeah, I think adding more returns is a good thing at the end of the day, right? I mean,
yep, 100%. Yeah, you don't want to return in a garage. You don't want to return in a bathroom. You don't want to return in a basement where you've got gas appliances, maybe a gas tainted hot water heater. Maybe it's a tankless, but you're taking your fresh air or something downstairs, or just there's several instances where you got to be careful, man. So yeah, cool. It's a 4-ton. Yeah, so you might need that extra return. Awesome.
Yep. Let's see.
Just take the return from outside. Just put it through the window. I'm just kidding.
Give me a horror story. What's the craziest horror story?
All right.
That you have experienced. You got one?
Oh, dude, I got one. So when I first started doing HVAC and I didn't know what I was doing, there was a house on the lake with a packaged gas. It was American Standard, and I was checking gas pressure, and I took the outlet screw out for the manometer, and I never screwed it back in. I just left it half a turn or turn out. And when I left, the gas turned on, or the unit did, and it blew the panels off. And it caught her ductwork and the unit on fire, and her house was full of smoke. And I was probably, I don't know, man. I don't know, maybe 19, 18, something. No, it was even maybe, I was young. And needless to say, my dad was upset, cost about $2,000. But I've got lots of those. But that was a good one, man. That was a good one. I burnt tons of motors up. Yeah, that was a good one.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you?
Craziest thing, man. I don't even know if I can remember that, but I can give you some off the top of my head. Craziest thing though.
While you think about it, I'll give you mine. I've told this story a couple times on our live show. The craziest one that I've ever done is I was working at a strip club.
Ooh.
And now granted, it was closed. It was in between owners. Talk about something odd and surreal, being the only soul in this entire building. At times I was working in there, and I was working for a company. We were doing the electric and the heating and air in there. So, I was putting in lights for this strip club, believe it or not. But anyway, while we were there, we were tracing a line. We had a I forget the verbiage, but I believe they're called tracers. We were trying to find this circuit, and we found this hidden entrance to this whole nother part of the building. And we went in there, and there were all these beds, and it was like like a 10-bedroom apartment is basically what it was. And who knows what was going on in there, but it was I was like, this is crazy.
I got one.
Okay, go for it.
Yeah, I was in that room that night. No, I'm just kidding. So I went to a trailer park one time, and there was a very old man there, and his name was Tom. And this was probably, I was a lot younger, and he was probably 80 or 90. And when I walked in, first of all, it was a no cooling call. And when I walked in, the guy got in my face and he said, "My son has schizophrenia." He said, "Don't look at him. Don't speak to him. Go to the unit and work on the unit." I said, "Okay." I walk in the house, and as soon as I step in the door, there's a man that's probably in his 50s, and he's laying on his back, and he's smoking a cigarette, looking up at the ceiling with these glasses on. And the smell is like ammonia. And this is one of my pet peeves. I hate going into houses where it smells like cat pee or dog, you know what I'm
Same.
saying? Yeah. So that's one of my pet peeves is smell. If I'm about to throw up or my eyes are burning because there's ammonia, I'm out. I'm sorry. I love you. Bye bye. So I get to walking in, and there's newspapers and magazines, and they're stacked to the ceiling in this single wide trailer the whole entire way. And the house is not that big, single wide trailer. But you walk in the front door and you take a left, and then there's that L-shaped counter that comes out for that trailer. And there are newspapers stacked to the ceiling. It smells terrible. I'm walking, I get to the furnace, and when I take off the bottom panel for the blower motor and the heat strips, roaches just go everywhere. I kneel down. The air conditioning's blowing, but I can smell, or when I look in, I can see the red or the orange glow. So I know the heater's running. So guess what I did, Joshua?
What'd you do?
I took the wire off the sequencer or off the heater. I jerked it off. I felt the air. It feels great. I said, "You have a great day. Goodbye." And I walked out. And that was one call that was probably 10 years ago. And
Wow.
that was a good one. There's a couple more. There's one time that I went to this house and they had a busted heat exchanger, and I never went inside. I sold them a new unit, right? This was years ago. I sold them a new unit. I sent my crew out there to do the job. They called me back when they got the unit installed. They said, "You need to come over here." They said, "We're not going inside. We're not changing the thermostat." I said, "Okay." I get over there. I go inside to change that. Well, first of all, they said, "You need to smell this." They took the return panel back off, and I smelled it, and I was like, "Oh,
Oh my
it
gosh.
was terrible." So I go into the front door, and I walk in, and it hits me, and my eyes start watering. Okay, they've got like 10 dogs in the house, but when you look at the furniture, when you start walking in, there's a recliner right there, but it's only springs. You go in this bedroom where they've got these dogs, and there's a mattress, but there's just springs, right? There are cockroaches all over the wall where the thermostat is. I'm holding my breath, like, oh, you know, trying to get out. But those are probably the horror stories I've got for you. That's it.
Yeah. I've got a couple like that too, but I mean, I'll spare you the details, but yeah, I've got a few of those as well.
Yeah.
I had one lady get really upset with me, and it was really bad in there, you know, and the craziest part of the entire story was, you know, I'm the same way. I'm very sensitive to smells. I don't smoke. It's hard for me to be around that sort of stuff. And and then, like you said, you know, animal feces and just all the different smells, right? And so I told this lady, I was like, "I'm so sorry. You've got, I'm just going to be honest with you. You've got to clean this place up for me to be able to work in here." And it was
Yeah.
roaches and all these things going on, right? And she, of course, told me all the reasons why. You know, she told me about some, health problems she had and whatever. But she said, "What do you want me to clean?" And I said, "Ma'am, clean something. Clean
Your
something.
booty. Clean your
Start
booty. I'm just kidding.
start somewhere and then just keep going. And
Yeah,
and
start
just
somewhere and
keep
keep
going."
going, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Do you have a
so
vacuum
anyway.
cleaner? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And yeah. So she had a bunch of kids running around, and her mom called my secretary and was like real ugly to her. And and my secretary told her, "Look, you had kids running around in there,
Oh yeah, man.
barefooted
That's
and
bad,
only
bro.
in their underwear."
Oh, dude.
And
Yeah,
and
oh yeah.
she said, "Ma'am, we're just refusing to do your work. I should be calling CPS, but
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not doing that. You just need to calm down and just, we're just it's not a fit."
Yeah. See, I've been in one where the trailer had holes in it and you can see the ground. And then you go to the bathroom and the toilet hasn't been working for a long time.
Hmm.
Bro, it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those are bad. Those are pet peeves, man. Those are ones I just can't deal with, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's the horror stories, man.
Yeah. It just sucks because, it's not that I don't care. And I can tell you don't, it's not that we don't care. It's just that we have our limits too, just like anybody else, and it just, there's a limit here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can stare over my shoulder. You can be right here, like whispering in my ear, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing? What are you working on? Would you just look at that? Would you look at that?" You could be right there. As long as you don't smell, you could be right.
There you go.
You could,
There you
yeah,
go.
you could be just hanging on my shoulder. Just,
Some guys don't
I'm cool with that.
customers to do that, but I've always been
I
fine with
love
it.
that.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Sir, here's the unit. Right now I'm doing this and then I'm doing that. And this is the relay. Well, we're going to do this."
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
customers
I'll
love
train
that,
them.
man.
I'll train them.
Yeah.
So where
Our
are we going next?
Our best customer when I had my company, was an apartment complex because the maintenance guys loved us because I was willing to show them a thing or two. So
That's awesome.
I
That says a lot.
I sent you a list of questions before we did you get that email that had the list of questions that I could possibly ask during the show?
I think I did. I don't know if I read them. I don't like being prepared, Joshua. I like to wing it.
Well, then let's wing it. So the last question is, typically when it's just me, I have a segment on our show called Goofy Inventions.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a goofy invention you can share with us tonight?
I mean, there's all kinds of things we can talk about, but I mean, if I was to make one up about HVAC, I'd say and listen, even if it got us out of some work, it would be the kind we didn't want anyway. So I'd say a self-cleaning air conditioner.
Oh,
That would be
that's a
awesome,
good
bro.
one.
Yeah, we don't have to go and clean up that stuff no more. We just go when the motor fails.
I like it. Like almost like one of those refrigerators that's self-cleaning, but really what it's doing is it gets just extremely, extremely hot and burns all that stuff off. So
that's what that lady should have done to her house to clean it.
No, that's good. I like that one.
Cool, man.
I've come up with a couple goofy ones on the show before, and that one is that one's one of the ones that if we could figure it out, I feel like we'd have it made there. Somebody invented a blanket with sleeves on it and called it a Snuggie and became a millionaire. So there's got to be some gold in here somewhere.
Oh yeah, there is, man. Yep.
What's you already told us that your son goes to work with you every day. What's a day look like for Tad and son?
So every day I go to the office and my crews and my employees, they come in, my coworkers come in at 7:30, and I ask everybody, "Hey, you need anything? You need anything? You need anything?" Because everybody's out on jobs. If they're not on jobs, then we're lining up new jobs, whether it's new construction or it's change outs, which happen a lot, or it's some project that we've got going on, whether it's industrial maintenance or whatever it is. And, I'm lining up the crews first thing. So we're driving out to the jobs, we're going over the jobs, they're starting, and then I go do service work. I go do service work. Sometimes it's estimates, and I'm doing service work until probably 4, sometimes 5. It really depends. Then after that, I'm editing video because I've done some footage while I'm out doing my daily service work. And then I'll go to a medical manufacturing company that's about 15 minutes away. I'll repair, refurbish, build surgical slush machines, and then I will go publish videos sometimes, or I'll wait till the morning. Then I'll go to my homestead, do some work, and I'll go home.
You fit all that into one day. That's crazy. And you
Yeah,
still
man.
have time to have a successful YouTube channel somewhere along the way.
Somewhere along the way. I usually schedule my content. So like, but yeah, I mean, it's usually late, dark, sometimes when I get home. When I was building, if we get a PO and a hospital needs 3 or 4 slush machines, sometimes I'll work till midnight and, then wake up at 5, go back to work, do it again. Those contracts don't always happen, but you have to do the work when the work is there. It's kind of like an HVAC company during the summer. You're your busiest. You got to do the work. You got to put it in. And that's what's going to grow your company. That's what's going to keep you alive. So yeah.
I have to
Oh,
be honest.
dude. Yeah,
I
you
did,
brought it up.
I didn't even know what a slush machine
I
was.
build those.
I was picturing what like a Slurpee machine, slushy,
I can build you one of those, Joshua. How big do you want the ice?
Slush machine. And what do they do with a slush machine?
Yeah, so that part where that green part is, the little anyways, that's a warmer. And then right next to it is a surgical slush machine, and that's a bowl, and that's a stainless steel high grade bowl. And then in it is surgical slush. And what you do is you take that slush. It usually takes 30 to 45 minutes to make that bowl full of slush. You take it and you pack the body with it when you're doing an open heart surgery, kidney transplant, organ transplant, or then you take the heart or the organ, you put it in a bag and then lay it in the bowl. And that's what keeps the tissues and organs from being damaged.
What?
Yeah. So I started doing that last November.
That's crazy. So it kind of looks
Yeah.
like ice in there.
Yeah, it is. It's slush. It's saline. There's saline that's warmed, and there's saline that is cooled and made into ice.
It is I mean, excuse me because I'm so ignorant to this, but it's almost, or I'm wondering, is it like the stuff that's in diapers? You know what I'm talking about? That dust that's in diapers that if you add water to it, it blows
Oh,
up into something.
I don't think so. But I don't
No.
know. I don't know. I quit wearing diapers like last year, so I haven't worn them in about a year. I don't know what they're called anymore.
You and your jokes.
So,
I mean that's
yes,
just kind of what it
sir.
looks like to me. Uh it
Yeah.
looks like because when I was in middle school, we took that stuff and like say you take it out of the diaper and you add a little water to it and you wait a couple minutes and then it blows up and
Oh,
to
okay. I think I know what you're talking about now.
whatever. Yeah. It's what actually absorbs the urine or whatever liquids get into the diaper. Supposedly NASA invented it, because the astronauts originally had it in their suits, so now they have it in diapers. And at least that's what I
Hmm.
was told. I'm just regurgitating information now.
Got you, man.
And
Got you.
but that's
That's
not what
cool
this
though.
slush is.
No, it's just it's saline and it's saline and water. That's all it is. It's salt and water. And
Okay.
30, 45 minutes it starts to become this slush, and they use that to pack the body. These machines run, for a long period of time making slush. It's just a refrigeration system. That's all it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, man.
Pretty cool. Pretty
But
cool.
because of what
You
I've learned, I can do this. But there's so
yeah.
many opportunities. That's what people don't realize about HVAC. Like they stay in the same spot they're in with the company that they don't like instead of increasing their knowledge and learning something new. There's so many job opportunities.
It's a really good point. I would even argue that our industry has more doors that could open, you know,
Mhm.
for guys that, like, if a guy got into this, forget what you're getting paid, just learn the trade for the first 5 to
Mhm.
10 years, and then, you know, then spread your wings. I mean, you could start with the manufacturers, the wholesalers, the contractors, the fact that
Yep.
there's industrial, commercial, residential. There's just
Yep.
so many opportunities out there. Um, you know, I can't think of another, because I did electric work at once upon a time, and I know for a fact that there's not as many opportunities doing that because, you know, from the contractor level down, maybe, but, you know, I mean, you look at, again, the manufacturers in our trade, there's so
Yeah.
many opportunities there, right? I mean, it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
What's sad is people usually get a bad experience after they graduate HVAC school, and they either quit or they either quit because they get a bad experience or they never move up. And it's because they just are in this, it's a mindset thing, really. It's a mindset thing. And it really, it's because of a bad business model. There's a lot of companies out there that have a bad business model because it's purely based off sales and highest ticket prices. And it's not about anymore of taking pride and having this quality and having integrity and having a good relationship and actually enjoying what you're providing, which is you're helping people. It's like an emergency service. So it's really sad, man. That's why people charge $500 for a capacitor. And at the end of the day, they're not thinking about what they did or who they helped. They're thinking about how much money they made. If
Yep.
money was everything, I'd be a different person. I'd be a different person.
Yep.
I would be totally different. But so yeah.
It's a really good point because unfortunately there's some poison that has snuck into our trade, right? And there's some guys
Mhm.
that are doing it for the wrong reasons, and now, even now, there are guys profiting off of teaching others how to have that mindset. And you know, I'm
Oh,
not
dude,
gonna
yeah.
go,
I'm talking,
I don't
bro.
want to.
I'm talking like $25,000 for a day at your HVAC company. Like what?
Right.
What can you
Yeah.
teach me for $25,000 for one day,
Yeah.
bro? And when I teach sales training, it's not how to go. You really need this. You really need these two options. These are your two options. You really need this. Sign the paper before I leave. Sign the paper. No,
Yeah.
it's literally, hey, and this is like the best advice I can give a homeowner right now. If your contractor comes to your house and gives you a noted out list of what you need to improve and like what actually will help, and then gives it to you and doesn't care if they get the job, bro, that's the one. I
Yeah.
tell my guys, listen, if you have three tools and you ask these three questions, you're going to get that job, because nobody else is going to have the duculator. Nobody else is going to have the tape measure. Nobody else is going to measure the square footage or check the insulation or tell them that their ductwork needs this or their size of their unit is this. That's all it's about, bro. But it's just, yeah, you're right, man. And I could go on, and there's some people that yeah, they're doing the wrong thing, man. And people are jumping on this bandwagon and they're calling it something. Like it's not just, they're making a name for it. Like they have to have this weird name for this program, and they call them warriors or whatever they are. And and bro, I already know, I bet I know exactly what you're talking about too. I don't like that stuff, man. I
Well,
don't like
and
that.
I mean, I tell you, I'm not even talking about one person specifically because I can think of at least four right now that are, you know, that are doing it. I think that, I think ultimately I'll say this, because there are a few that still fall in that category, but I'll say this: if you're learning from someone that has never actually done what they're trying to teach you to do, so if they've never actually
Mm,
built a successful heating and air company and had a good reputation and all of those things, then
mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, it's just hard for me to take their advice. It's not that they're a bad person, but they probably are giving you bad advice, and
Yeah.
so. I don't necessarily care about what their age is, because I think there's some young bucks in our trade that are, certainly moving on with the times better than some of the old timers, right? But I don't know. I just anyway. I'm not trying to say too much, and because I've made enough enemy. I've learned in the last couple years, I've made enough enemies in this trade already, and you rock the boat enough, and you start pissing some people off.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if you're doing the right thing, who cares if they're pissed off either, right? So
Why didn't you tell me this before you dragged me on this podcast?
I
Okay.
know you're
Now
part of
I'm
the
going to
cool.
get an email later. I'm just kidding.
You're a part of the cool kids club now. We get to sit at the cool kids table and make fun of all the other people.
I'm just going to get an email later that just says, "We know what you're doing. We know what you did last summer with Joshua." Just kidding. Nah, but that's cool,
Uh,
man. I'm glad you know. I'm glad you're educating people. There's a lot of newcomers in this industry because of the opportunities, and I don't want them to get in here and get that bad experience. I don't want them to get in here and think that they have one person that they can work for, or that every company is the exact same, because they're not. There's
yeah.
still companies out there that believe in their service and believe in providing that good thing to people. So yeah.
Yeah, and not just that. If you learn under a guy that, doesn't have the, don't give up on the trade just because you worked with one bad apple. Let's just put it that
Hmm.
way. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, man, I've got a guy that went through my training courses, right? And it's about 20 videos, and you learn about sizing ductwork, sizing equipment. And he works for a big name company, right? They're everywhere. And I will not say the name at all, but this guy is a good hearted person. And he says that they will sell a 3-ton change out for $40,000. And he
Whoa.
says that there are, yeah. And he says, "Oh, bro, I got the invoice. I got invoices." He sends me this because he's so upset about it. There has been some times that he has went to a job, he's closed the deal with the customer, and then when his boss finds out, his boss says, "You need to sell them this. You need to add this to the ticket." And then you know what? He's went back to the customer and he says, "I cannot do this for you. I cannot. I don't even want to. I'm sorry. You're going to have to go with somebody else." And he's so angry. He's so upset. And I'm like, "Dude, you're doing the right thing, because even if you make all the money in the world, you're still probably not going to be happy with what you did. So it really doesn't matter, you know?"
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. But I've got those invoices. I know the company. It is super sad. The other sad thing is this guy has signed an agreement. He signed a non-disclosure. So he cannot say anything. He cannot do anything. So that's also the bad thing. And people don't realize this. Technicians don't realize this. They don't realize that there's companies that will hang you out to dry. They will hang you out to dry, man.
Yeah.
So it's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, we could go all night on this. I mean,
Let's do it. I'm just
I,
kidding.
I hired a guy that had been doing this for 19 years. He had been in the trade for 19 years, and he still had never held a torch. They kept him in ductwork the entire time. And what they did was, it was kind of clever on their part in a horrible way, that they crippled him. He could never become competition because he only knew one facet of the business. And so he was
Yeah.
very good at that, but he didn't know the whole business enough to ever become competition of theirs.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of sad too. But
Yeah.
uh yeah, I think if you're in this trade, I loved what you said at the beginning of the show. Everyone should own a business at least once, at least for a little while, if nothing else, until those
Mhm.
other doors open, because you learn so much. I mean, you really
Yeah.
do. And if you can figure it out and make it work, I hear of all these businesses failing in the first 2 years or whatever that statistic is.
Yeah.
If you can make it work and get through that, you know, I learned so much just from that, just from owning a business, knowing how to treat others, knowing how to,
Mhm.
you know, uh, fall in love with customers. You talked about that at one point tonight,
Mhm.
talking
Yeah.
about some of your customers. Nobody ever told me that part of the job, where you actually start to really, create those connections for life. I remember
Yeah.
bawling I found out a lady died that was a customer of ours, and I bawled in the middle of one of our staff meetings because I just loved
Mm,
that lady so much.
you
And
big
she just,
baby.
yeah, I was a
You're
big baby
being
in
a
that one.
big baby. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
lot of
Yeah.
leaking out of this face that
I
that
love
day.
those relationships.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well,
That's awesome though, man.
I didn't understand the joke there. I got it now.
I was
It
just
takes me
messing.
a minute. I'm slow.
I was just messing. Thank you
Uh
for having me on tonight, man.
yeah, let's do a couple things before you wrap. Before I'm gonna let you wrap up in just a second with something.
All right.
But let's do this. So if you're here on our show, those of you that are in our chat, I'm sorry I didn't get to all the questions. But if you would, we wrap up every show the same way. If you know of a good, we talked about some of the bad ones tonight. We didn't even know we were going to do that. But if you know
Yeah.
of a good heating and air business across this country, heating and air, plumbing, or electric, let's show some love to some of the good ones and drop their name and where they're located in the chat. You never know when somebody in your area might see that and you can show them some love in a big way, right? So we talked about some bad ones. Let's talk about some good ones in the chat. In the while they're doing that, Tad, if you would, what's our takeaway? Let's land this plane. What's the summary here? If somebody catches this show and they want to know what you're all about, and more importantly, what your YouTube channel is all about, that everyone is going to go and subscribe to after they get off of the show, go and subscribe to his channel. What's the takeaway? What are they going to get out of that channel and all that good stuff?
If there was one thing I'd want them to get out tonight, it's, let not man seek his own, but every man another's wealth. So don't just look after yourself, look after others. It's going to benefit you more than you would ever imagine, because helping somebody is really helping yourself. I mean, that's really what we need to do every day. As far as my channel, I never meant to do HVAC. I started my channel because I wanted my children to see me, because I wanted them to see progress after I was gone, and see that I was working hard and I was trying to help people. And I want them to do the same, because we emulate, who we're around and what we see. Because of the people that watch my channel, that's the reason I have the content I have. It's because of them. It's really just because of the questions they provided me with. The questions have become the content. And I was just doing HVAC. One day I did a live and people seen it and started asking me questions. I was like, wow, maybe I need to do this. I named my channel Taddy Digest, man. It made me laugh because I liked the sound of it. It was just funny. It made me laugh. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to name it this. I'm just going to do video. The first year I did over 300 videos just on stupid things. I was eating a cupcake one day. I did a video eating a cupcake. 2 years. Yeah, yeah. So you can go back and see how crazy I was. But then two or 3 years in, because I've been doing it about 5 years, that's when I did the live, and somebody, they got on, and that's when I realized, wow. So I changed focus and direction, started really getting in the content, and just trying to do, like, I would, if somebody asked me a question, I would try to do the video that day, and I don't script anything. I just do, the video, and I say what's on my heart. And if you go to my channel now, man, I've got a HVAC tips for homeowners with like around 200 videos for homeowners. I've got around 600 videos for technicians, HVAC tips for technicians. I've got training courses, like 20 videos for like $20 that you can see. And, now I've got a membership level. It's level 4. You can talk to me on the phone. Level 5, I'll spend an hour with you. And then I've got a client thing where it's, level 6. I had a guy the other day. He had 24 contractors come out to his project. Nobody could give him a right size. Sizes are all over the place. Prices are all over the place. So he paid me 10 minutes. I gave him what he needed. I'm shipping him 32 mini splits to Virginia, where you're at. I'm going to fly there. I'm going to consult for the project. They're going to save a ton of money, and they're going to be confident and happy by the end of the project, knowing that everything's going to work. So this has opened up so many doors for me. I've been able to help companies that have reached out, connect technicians with products to help them get their contractor's license, man. This has turned into something that is like purpose driven. And if you purpose in your heart what you do, then your life will be so much better, man. So I would say the last thing I need to say to you is purpose in your heart what you do, and just try to figure out the direction you need to go. Sometimes it's hard. You got to do a lot of things. You don't know what you're doing, but that's okay. As long as you're willing to work, it's going to be all right, because willingness is what will get you the opportunity. All right. And then the opportunity will provide you with the skill and the experience. And then the experience is the best teacher. So thank you very much, brother. Appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. When you come to Virginia, let me know. I don't care where in Virginia it is. Just let me know. So, yep, I'm going to track you down. I'll send a bloodhound.
Yeah.
I just want to, as we're wrapping up, I want to go ahead and promote next week. We are having another amazing guest. Who's also a big player in our industry and is doing some big things on the other side of the country. And so I'm excited to have next week's guest. His name is Howard, and he is the host of the HVAC Dope Show. And we were supposed to have him a couple weeks ago, and it didn't work out, but we're going to have him next week. And then the week after that is another big heavy hitter. We're going to have Dave, who's the host of the DIY HVAC channel. And so we've got a couple big shows back to back over the next couple weeks. Hopefully we can have Taddy back soon as well. I keep calling him Taddy. It's Tad. I'm sorry. Yeah, I know
Don't
you
call
as
me
Taddy.
Daddy.
But I will say the last thing is just a little self promotion or thankfulness, just to piggyback off of yours. This past week, we hit 100,000 subscribers, and I would just want to say a big thank you to all you guys. I really do appreciate your support, and because of that, we're going to do something special here soon. I know we did a big giveaway when we hit 50,000 subscribers. I don't know what we're going to do for 100K, but we're going to do something. Maybe we'll steal those 24 mini splits that Tad has coming to Virginia and then ship them to you guys. I don't know. We're going to do something crazy. But I do really appreciate you guys and all your support. It's been a lot of fun. And I think this is going to be the biggest summer yet for a lot of us that are giving out good content, because doors are opening left and right. And it sounded like from some of the things you were saying, it sounds like you've been privy to some information that I haven't, or that the average Joe hasn't, right? Remember you were saying, I can't talk about this yet. Remember now you don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Not anymore.
I think there's going to be more of that as well. And so I'm excited. So again, thank you guys. We'll see you next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Central. And in the meantime, make it a great week. We'll see you then.